Welcome to Up Front with Jeff Coleman. My name is Kress. Today on the podcast, we'll be talking about human trafficking, something personal that happened in my son's school, and a whole lot more. Stay put, stay there. We'll be back after this.
Let's go, Brandon.
I am joined with the namesake of this podcast, Jeff Coleman.
Hey, Kress, how you doing?
All right, how are you?
I am awesome.
And I am joined with Gregory Moody.
Hello.
Hey. So, Jeff, there's a lot we want to dive into. There's a lot we need to talk about. Most importantly, on the top of our list, you have been doing some interesting things with an organization to stop human trafficking here in Missouri. I think your listeners and the constituents of Missouri really need to know what we're doing and what you're doing.
Yeah, Kress, there's over 40 million people that are enslaved in human trafficking. And there's a local organization here that's based out of Harrisonville and Greenwood. It's called the Restoration House. And they do awesome work. And I've teamed up with them. We're trying to do some legislation that is going to put this to rest. It's going to do away with all this unbelievable, very, very destructive things that they do to people. We're trying to do away with all this. And unfortunately, Missouri is a central pass-through from coast to coast, both from I-70 and also going from border to border from I-35. And you know that this whole issue with the border and being open is another issue that deals with human trafficking. So we're trying to come up with legislation that will do away with all this human trafficking, both from the people who are purchasing the girls and the boys, and also the people who are bringing them across the border, the people who are literally kidnapping our kids, and taking them away. It's a really sad story that I heard about just last week, where a 12-year-old girl was taken to Children's Mercy Hospital, and she was pregnant. And unfortunately,
oh, that's awful.
It just hurts my soul to think about this, because this little girl, she's pregnant. They take her to Children's Mercy. Children's Mercy feels that there's an issue here. They put a tip into the hotline, the national hotline. It went to the FBI, and the FBI didn't do anything. That 12-year-old girl is nowhere to be seen now. We have no clue where she is. And so I have children myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I just cannot even think about what would happen if one of them were kidnapped and I never saw them again, and they were going through this whole torturous lifestyle that they're put through.
Let me add, my oldest child, he is 13 years old. That is a year older than what that little girl.
Yeah.
What happened to that little girl?
Yeah.
It's very heartbreaking. That's the only word I can use.
And you know, the thing about this is that we don't think about this on a day-to-day basis because it's not right in our face. And these kids and these women and these boys are stuck in this lifestyle that they cannot get out of. And the problem that we have, and some of the things that I'm trying to correct, is that when these kids and these women get caught for basically prostituting, they're the ones who get the jail sentences, and they're the ones that get punished. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to do away with that and make the people that are buying these kids, buying these women, and making them sex offenders, making it a felony, so that they are now out there in the public, and they're gonna We're going to make them visible to everybody. And for the people that are producing these people, these kids, we're going to try to go after them. We're going to find you, and we're going to punish you as well. We're putting you away, and you're not going to be able to do this anymore. And that's what this legislation that I'm trying to work on right now is. We're trying to put together the language that will do away with this whole issue and this whole problem, because it is a major, major problem.
You know, Missouri comes in at number 8 right now for human trafficking cases. They're coming in at 3.78 per 100,000 people. Of course, we're seeing California sitting at number 1 as the highest state of human trafficking.
Yeah, and these guys, what they do is that they get these girls and these boys on social media, and the ones that are struggling in their life right now at home, they have issues, and they make them feel like, hey, there's a better life out here. You need to come with us, because it's difficult being at your house, and they don't really love you, and I do. They get these kids to go with them thinking they're going to have a better life, and as soon as they leave, they've got them. And it's really difficult to get those kids back. There has to be training. Our police force, our highway patrol, our hospitals, they need to be trained to know the signals of what human trafficking is and what it looks like. And that's some of the other legislation we're putting together right now.
I was going to ask for numbers, but you beat me to it.
So again, the organization's name that I'm partnering up with right now is called the Restoration House. There's multiples out there, but Restoration House and I have gotten to know each other, and I'm just really excited about what they're doing. They have actually a home that they put these women up in, the women, their children, some of the kids that are just independent kids, and it's a 3-year program. This is not, hey, we're going to bring you in and just give you some housing and set you up and let you go. These people have been involved in this lifestyle for some time, and they are programmed. So that's all they know. So you have to let them deprogram. You have to teach them new life skills. You have to teach them what it's like to have a so-called normal life. It takes some time for that to happen, and that's what this program gives these people that have been trafficked. It gives them a second chance at life, and I'm just really excited about what they're doing. In fact, on November the 6th, I believe that's a Saturday, they have an open house down in Harrisonville at their place that they are actually expanding their program to have more beds so that they can bring in more people. And so there's an open house. There's all day long. They've got little sessions to help people understand what human trafficking is, what are some of the signs, to help them better understand what to look for. And then they're going to have a ribbon cutting towards noon. They'll have some food there. I'll try to get information out on our website, Citizens for Jeff Coleman, and on our Facebook page, Citizens for Jeff Coleman, so that you can get information if you would like to go out and support these folks.
Human trafficking is current day slavery, basically. This is what it is. And I want to ask, Representative, other than online, predators online, what are the statistics of kids being abducted just going up here to Walmart, Price Chopper, Hy-Vee, being with their parents, or being at the park, something like that, away from being online?
Yeah, Kress, just some statistics that I've gotten off the line. Like in 2020, almost 400,000 juveniles got abducted in the U.S. And if you look at that, if you break it down, the statistics show that there were about 178,000 males that were kidnapped versus 209,000 reported cases of females, girls getting abducted. So there's a lot of kids that are out there that are being abducted, We can't really say that those came from the internet versus the parking lots of Walmart or where they came from, but this is happening, and it's happening all over the U.S., and it needs to stop. We've got to find a way to put an end to this, because it is just it's modern day slavery. It's slavery of these kids, and they have zero way to get out of it. We've got to do something, and that's what we're trying to do.
And you've already kind of covered. I don't know if there's anything you want to go into more detail about what the bill does in terms of prevention, identifying suspects, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, we're just getting started on this, so there's lots of fluid language that's happening, but the real goal here is to separate different things, like training. The big issue of training, we've got to get people trained so they know what to look for. Hospitals, local police, state police, they have to know what to look for, because if they don't know, it's going to slip by. So that's the big thing. So we're going to try to pull some legislation that requires training on human trafficking and the signals, the signs, and what they should be looking for.
So there's like a lot of training of law enforcement.
Yes.
Okay.
Law enforcement, hospitals, and so on. The next thing is let's put some barriers up. Let's make the people that are purchasing these kids for sex, let's put them at risk. Let's make them feel the pain, right? So if they get caught, we're going to make it a felony. Right now, it's a misdemeanor.
That's a misdemeanor.
It's a
to do that.
misdemeanor?
It's a misdemeanor.
No kidding.
We're going to make it a felony, and we're going to put them on the sex register. So you're going to, if you get caught, people are going to know, and it's not coming off. You're going to spend some time. You're going to pay some fines, and it's going to last the rest of your life, because you're going to be on the sex offender list, and people are going to be able to look you up. So if you go out there and you go out and get involved with these kids, we're going to make you pay the price. The next thing is we're going to be trying to find those people that are abducting these kids, and those people are never coming back, because this is just too big of a crime. Those people don't need to, they're horrible people. They don't need to be out on our streets. That's the goal of the legislation. We're trying to put together the language to make those things happen.
So it looks like that it says here online that it's less than 15 years in jail. Usually it says less than 10 years in prison. That is a huge concern, and I hope that the people you're working with, and when you pass this bill, it goes further to the federal level so they actually get some federal time out of this. This should be a way bigger deal than what it is. I know that Senator Josh Hawley, when he was our Attorney General, that was one of the big things he was focused on, is these sex rings, the child trafficking, and numerous things like that. The current Attorney General is doing the same thing. And like you said, it's a big deal in the state of Missouri because of the ease of I-70 and 35, right? So to me, I guess it's very concerning that we are not doing this at a federal level and coming down on it as hard as we are at the state level.
Well, I do think that now Senator Hawley is continuing his work towards trying to pull this to an end.
Yeah, and I don't want to diminish
Yeah.
what. Absolutely.
No, I get that, but I do think in talking to the friends here at Restoration House, they have had conversations with his office, and it does appear that he is interested in continuing that work, but it does make it tough when you're in the minority in the Senate, where they are trying to get their initiatives through, they meaning the Democrats, and this isn't one of them. So if this is important to you as a Republican in this situation, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of luck unless you can find somebody on the Democrat side to help move that legislation along. And don't get me wrong. It happens on both sides. I'm not trying to say the Democrats are evil on this situation, but it's because it happens both ways. If the Republicans have the House and the Senate, then it's going to be their priorities that they work through on. So,
Well, I would think that human trafficking would be something that would be very bipartisan.
it should be. It should be. But again, if it's not their priority, they're not going to. That's not something that they're going to work on.
Oh, that's disgusting.
It's pretty sad. I agree. I can tell you that I will get bipartisan support on this legislation down here at our capital here in Missouri. I've already been talking to folks. I have their attention, and as long as everything is put together the way I'm talking about, they will support. So I think we'll get this thing through and get things working here in Missouri this next session.
Have you talked to anybody at the Senate about this?
Haven't had any conversations yet at the Senate, but we will be having those conversations once I get the language done sometime this month.
Okay, so that's what we're waiting on, is to finish
Right.
up
Yep.
crafting that language.
Yeah, that's right. You got to have language together. Everybody, I think, is on board as far as the basics are concerned, but everybody wants to see what the language looks like before they commit. So, and that's understandable.
Oh, yeah.
Makes sense.
So yeah, so we'll get that through this month, and then we'll pre-file in December on the 1st of December, and we'll be ready to hit the road on January the 5th when we go back to session.
Well, I'm excited about this bill that you're working with Restoration House. Like you said, they're a great organization, and the people of Missouri, I think, are ready for something like this because they're just as upset as you are about what's going on. And when they hear these statistics, it's sad.
You know, that's the thing, Kress, that again, if it's not in front of you, if you don't see it on a day-to-day basis, you forget. And we're not going to let that happen. We're going to put it out to the people. We're going to make them understand that this is a real issue, that slavery is not acceptable, and that we need to get rid of this. And so we'll have it out there. People will be able to see the legislation. They'll be able to read it as soon as I get it. Once again, we'll put it out on Facebook. You can go online and go to house.mo.gov. Once again, that's house.mo.gov, and look my name up, and then you'll be able to see all my legislation.
Greg, you're looking at a $3.5 trillion bill right now. What are we looking at here, buddy? We got the House Speaker clickety-clack on there.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says lawmakers could vote on social spending and infrastructure soon as they near an agreement on reconciliation. That's what we're looking at.
So $3.5 trillion on this bill, and they're wanting to do reconciliation.
It looks like it's been, the language used in this Business Insider article is been pared back from 3.5 trillion to 2 trillion to gain the support of two Democratic holdouts, who we all know who they are. God bless them. To try and get them to come on board with that massive spending bill, as if inflation isn't bad enough.
So this is the same bill that's not going to cost us.
It's not going to cost
penny.
any. That's right. It's not going to cost anything. It's 3.5 trillion. It's not going to cost anything. In reality, it makes you money.
That's a very interesting concept.
That's right. It's like when you go to Target and spend $300, $400, and
But wait a second. I think maybe I got the calculation on that. I think if we just go to everybody's bank account that has $600 or more, we might be able to pay for that bill.
That's right. You might be able to pay for that.
Yeah, I think maybe that's how they intend on paying for it. Or maybe it's by the extra percentage that is hidden in this bill, that where they want to increase our residential property tax by 2 or 3% on top of what we're already doing from the county side.
Is that at a federal level or
Federal level.
They want to do a federal property tax.
That's right.
Wow.
It's hidden in the bill. Or maybe it's the extra money that they want to put on the death tax. So after you've paid all your taxes, when you die, they want to tax you again.
Now you get taxed again as you
Yeah.
try and pass it on to your kids, right?
Yeah,
On something
yeah.
you've already been taxed on, you've worked your whole life to earn. Yeah.
Maybe that's how they're going to pay for all this.
Yeah, they pay for all that, and then of course, I mean, deficit spending too. I mean, and paying for it, inflation, which is ultimately just a tax on. It's a.
On the middle and lower class.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the technical term for it, but I can't. But that's exactly what a regressive tax. It's a
Yeah.
regressive tax.
Yeah, because we're paying more money on all the things that we buy every day.
Right. Oh, it's funny. We just went to actually before we came here, we went to Sonic's, right, guys? And it was like $10 for a meal, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, that's just how it is today. We're $10 for a fast food meal.
Well, gasoline prices in itself have gone up, 40%, somewhere in that neighborhood. And then on top of that, they want to, maybe another way they're going to pay for it is by the mileage tax that they're going to put on us.
Are they? I had
Yeah, that's
expand. What's this mileage tax?
So
speak of?
you have to keep track of all the miles that you drive
Are you
and
serious?
report it to the IRS every year.
Oh my god.
And they tax you on those miles that you've driven.
That's absurd.
That's there. It's all in the bill. The 1,800-page bill, whatever it is.
Wow.
I don't know that I've read a book that many pages before.
So, Jeff, on a side note, you were talking about everything going up. I know your tax bill, we weren't planning on talking about this, but just real quick to clarify, on your tax bill, you have it capping at CPI. Am I right?
That's correct.
So right now, CPI is at 5 point something percent, 5.3%, something like that.
5.7, I believe.
5.7%.
Yeah.
That is crazy. It's extreme, and it keeps going up. So, are you still going to have your bill, your tax bill, follow the CPI number? Can you explain what you're going to do to curtail that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to continue to keep CPI, which is Consumer Price Index, for all those that don't know what CPI is. Consumer Price Index is kind of a rating of inflation. It's also kind of tied to Social Security, that Social Security looks at CPI to determine how they're going to raise your Social Security every year. So it's going to be tied to CPI. However, I'm also putting a cap in there of 2% for the same period of time. So CPI per year or 2% per year, which means that we know that at the end of every cycle of assessment values. So when they come out, the county assessor comes out to look at your house to determine how much it's worth, they can only raise it by a maximum of 4%, 2% per year, or CPI, Consumer Price Index, whichever's less. And the reason I did that is because CPI up until this year has averaged about 1.9% per year over the last 40 years. So there were a few years where they had some spikes, but
1 point what over the last 40 years?
40 years, 1.9.
1.9 over 40 years, and then all of a sudden in 2021, we see it jump up to
5.7.
5. You guys want to know what energy is for the last 12 months?
yes, please.
24.8%.
Energy has gone up 24.8% in the last 12 months.
This is from bls.gov/CPI.
Pretty incredible.
I mean, I see it.
Yeah.
I feel it. I'm a middle class family,
Yep.
and that's the one that hurts the most.
Like I can honestly, even not just gas prices, like heating and air conditioning. It's
Yes.
I used to be spending like $70 a month. Now it's like $100 a month on all that.
Yeah, it's sad that the inflation is just going up crazy, and it's hitting all of us. The gas prices for me is really hard because I'm traveling across the state to try to get the information out about this bill, to try to save people on their taxes every year. We're trying to get this bill passed, and the language, I'm not going to go into all of it. We have town hall meetings that we try to get the information. We get more detailed, but basically this is something that goes out to the people It's a constitutional change. We're changing everything that we do currently and making it very simple. You have a base, whenever this bill passes in the law, you'll have, whatever your assessed value is at that time is your base. And it can only go up from that point on by consumer price index or 2% per year, whichever is less. Very simple. You can budget off of it. You can look it up during the year. You know exactly where you're going to be. So look at the Facebook at Citizens for Jeff Coleman to get information on town hall meetings. If you want, get us your information. We'll email you. You can go to our webpage, which is www.citizensforjeffcoleman.com, and give us your information. I'll make sure you get on our list, and I'll send information out on where we are on this legislation.
Very good. Sorry for putting you on the spot like that.
No, that's good.
I just wanted some clarification since we were talking about this.
Sure.
Well, we're talking about the inflation thing. Because now the bear shells, and now that's a sign that it's working, right, guys? That's a sign that everything is going great. And I don't know if I can play this like a clip. I don't know if this is going to get picked up, but I won't. This was one of the funniest things I've heard all week. And it's kind of subtle. So this was actually played on Tucker Carlson's show, but it's a clip in a clip, I guess. This is Don Lemon, as Tucker loves to call him, talking to Chris Cuomo, and just listen to it, because they're talking about how inflation's going up, and they're having this conversation, and Lemon's going on about how inflation and all these bare shelves, that means it's working because demand is going up, right? You know.
I talked to Kai Risdahl last night, who explained to me about the supply chain. Yes, it is terrible. People want to get their things, but it's also an indicator that the economy is doing well. People want to buy things, and that it's backed up. So let's look at the part that, hey, the economy's great. People can buy things again. They're out and about. They want to buy gas. It's, okay, fine.
I know. I think that's a little spin.
Well, it is spin. I'm just trying to make people feel good.
I'm sorry. I love that.
That's a spin?
That was, so the person you heard saying, I don't know, it sounds like spin, that was Chris Cuomo. Even your lefty colleagues are going like, nah, no, that sounds like bullshit. When even your lefty colleagues are like, that sounds like BS, And, he's just like, oh, I'm just trying to make people feel good.
Oh my gosh. You know what liberal math is?
No, I do not.
All right, so this is great. I seen this on social media the other day. Liberal math is having bare shelves and a supply chain issue, and liberals saying that there's just too many shelves.
There's too many shelves, right? If there weren't so many shelves, they would be full.
It would be fine.
The shelves would be full. All right.
We need to build smaller stores.
We just need to change our leadership.
We need to change our leadership, yeah.
Let's go, Brandon. Chris, you had some stuff that happened to you this last week that I think is important that we bring up. So tell us a little bit about what happened at your son's school.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so should I name the school or do I want to keep it out? So it's a school in eastern Jackson County. Gavin's got this one teacher that, for quite a long time, we have heard from him on almost a daily basis that, oh, Mrs. So-and-so has told me to put my mask up. She's yelling at students to put their mask up. She's afraid she's going to get COVID. She's afraid that the students are going to pass on COVID to her. Everybody's going to die. She's one of those people that need to, wear 20 masks and hide underneath their bed, right? So I get this email from my son. I'm at work. I get this email from my son. It says, "This is my formal apology to you for endangering you and others in my household to COVID. I've allowed my mask to fall underneath my nose and endanger myself and others." The first thing I saw when I seen this, I went, what in the hell is this? My wife ended up texting me a screenshot of the email, and I said, what is this? She said, it's that stupid teacher. She had him email this to us. I was, nope, this is ridiculous. That made me mad instantly. If you're that scared, being in the public, teaching students, and let me tell you, Before I go on, I need to give you this. The entire school district, there's more than 5,000 children. The COVID rate, cases, that means kids testing positive inside of the school district is 0.3%. Okay? 0.36%. I'm sorry, 0.36%. The amount of COVID cases in his school currently, one COVID case in his school
Wow.
out of 5,000 children.
And then yet, is she vaccinated? Do we know if she's vaccinated?
We don't know if she's vaccinated, but I'm going to say 99% positive
Probably.
she's vaccinated. She is one of those lefty teachers, and you could tell she's very leftist in her ideology.
Does she wear masks?
Oh, you know she wears a mask. She probably wears. How many masks does she wear?
Oh my God.
So she wears 2 masks.
She wears 2 masks.
So let me ask you a question. I guess I'm going down a path here. If she's vaccinated and she's wearing 1 or 2 masks, shouldn't that protect her from the virus of everybody else? I just have no understanding of this. That it just irritates me that you have all these people that are out there and they're, what do you call that when they're gaslighting you, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
They're
gaslighting.
gaslighting. So I want to take this offline a little bit from your son because I want to give you another example. I was at Walmart. I was in Walmart without a mask. I did my shopping. I was checking out, and as I was coming out I might have been talking to you actually on the phone, and this older gentleman kind of boxes me into the area, and he's looking at me, and I have my state representative shirt on, and he looks at me, he says, "So you're not smart enough to wear a mask?"
Oh my gosh.
And I responded back to him because I was on the phone. I wish I would have gotten off the phone and had a conversation, but it just caught me wrong. I said, "Yeah, no, I'm smart enough not to wear a mask."
There you go.
And then I just turned to move past him, and then he says, "You're an idiot," and that's what they do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't stop him and say, "So are you an idiot for wearing a mask?" Oh my gosh, they're supposed to be the party of what's the word I'm looking for?
Tolerance.
Tolerance, but yet no, that they have no tolerance. It's their way or the highway. And so, to your point, Kress, this is an issue. Tell us there was some more about. Well, wait a second, Greg, you had something to say too.
Well, it's going to take us off on a tangent, but there's a different story I was going to tell about how I was at work the other day, and the person in the so in the cubicle next to me, he clearly was not feeling well. He was coughing, he was sneezing, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, so I wore a mask, right? And I was wearing a mask at my desk, and then as I was sitting there and I was thinking, I'm doing this and because I want to, because it makes me feel more comfortable, at least in this aspect. I don't know if it actually does anything, but I can't actually imagine sitting there thinking, well, the guy next to me has to wear a mask too. And if he doesn't, he should lose his job. And he has to get a vaccine because he's sick. And I'm just like, what kind of sick mindset? Like, what is, like, and it just really made me think, what's wrong with these people? Like, you have to violate your own conscience to get a vaccine. You have to violate your own conscience. Like, we have to force kids, like Kress's kid, we have to force him to wear a mask all the time. We have to force all these kids. They can't breathe. They're sitting there in these masks. They're miserable. They're uncomfortable. And you're like, what is wrong? Like, I was sitting there wearing a mask, and it's like, I couldn't imagine, like, forcing people to do this. It's just absolutely disgusting.
But you don't care about your fellow person.
That's exactly what it is. I don't care. That's exactly right. And it's just like, I'm taken care of. I'm taking care of myself. Like,
which is what you should be doing. Taking care of yourself.
What kind of sick control issues do you have that you think that this is okay to do this to people? I mean, really.
So how do you feel about this?
No, right? Right?
So, Kress, let's go back to you. Because there were some other things that came of your situation. Tell us more.
I think I just want to follow up on your story real quick.
Yeah.
What you could have probably told the gentleman is, COVID's over, find a new cause.
Yeah.
So,
Amen.
the one thing other than her coercing him to send an email out to his parents saying that he is going to endanger us. The other thing that made me really, really upset about the entire situation was how she asked the class, pulled him in front of the class, asked the class if there's anything that they want to tell Gavin, and how she was trying to kind of turn the entire situation into like a mob situation and go after Gavin, go after the kid that doesn't have the mask on or the mask that fell below a certain point. See, that's the other thing. It's not that his mask fell totally off his face while he was talking. It also, if it's below a certain point on the nose and if it sits at the ball of the nose, she doesn't like that either.
I just wonder how many times she touches her mask during the day.
Yeah, right?
Because every time you touch your mask, every single time you touch your mask, that mask is contaminated and it no longer is good. You're supposed to take it off. I
have somebody at the table. Does she touch her mask a lot? He says yes.
Yeah. Well, that's because everybody does. How can you go all day long without touching your mask or somewhere around to maneuver it up or down or rearrange it?
And then you think of like all these frontline workers, all these food workers, like they will, I'm sure they go to the bathroom at some point, and they're touching their hands, they're touching their face masks, and that those, you think most people probably never wash them and they reuse the disposable. It's absolutely disgusting.
You're talking about the mask.
The masks themselves. No, not frontline workers. We love them. But the masks themselves, it's just like those things, those things are disgusting. Like you're probably making it worse.
Yeah. Well, the whole mask issue, I've always had an issue with, just because if you go back when this whole thing first started, Fauci, he came out of his mouth on the news, said,
flipped and flopped, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, he says masks don't really work. They're there primarily, they give you psychological feeling that you're being protected, but they really don't work. And then 2 months later, he's out there saying, oh, we got to wear a mask. And in fact, it might be better that we wear 2 masks or 3 masks or however mask you feel comfortable with. So none of the information that they put out, whether it's the mask or whether it's the mandate for the vaccine, hey, none of us on this table are against masks. None of us around this table are against the vaccine. We just are against you telling us we have to do something.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so okay, I'm against the forced vaccine.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's not about the vaccine. If you want to take the vaccine, take the vaccine.
Right.
You're against somebody telling you you have to take it.
Forced vaccine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you say that?
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. You never listen to me anymore.
What?
So.
No, producer Becky was texting me something where we're trying to follow up on what we were talking about previously on the podcast, doing some technical work behind the scenes.
Gotcha. Well, this is, I think, probably a good time to. Did you want to talk about something?
Can I make one more point, actually?
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
is like one of the way I think of it. This is like the collectivization of America, where what they're doing is they're saying, "Oh, well, I'm responsible for me, and you're responsible for me. We're responsible for each other." And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like I'm responsible for my health. You are not responsible for my health. I alone am responsible for me. And they're trying to change the whole dynamic.
Perfect. Perfectly said.
Well, as we have done in the past 2 podcasts, we have dubbed this now Coleman's Corner. We'll give you a few minutes to wrap up what we talked about on the podcast and any additional information that you want to talk about.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being supportive of this podcast. We appreciate everybody that's listening. We're trying to get the word out, so please tell your friends about this podcast. We're trying to keep you up to date with what's going on at the Capitol on a local basis, and also mix in some of the national stuff as well and in our positions. just to let you know, where we stand, where I stand, is I am against mandates, period. We should not be told by the federal government what we can and can't do. We are there to take care of ourselves. The Constitution does not give them the authority to do this. And I think somewhere, I'm trying to remember where, Kress, I know that you're better at this than I am. So I think it's Thomas Jefferson that said, when the people fear the government, there's tyranny. But when the government fears the people, there's liberty. And that's what we need to get back to. From every level of government, the government is supposed to be responsive, and the government is supposed to be doing what the people want the government to do, not what the government wants the government to do. So in closing, I'm just gonna, Kress, I want you to play President Reagan's farewell address, a piece that I think really orchestrates exactly what we should be doing as a nation, and how government should react to the people, because that's what they should be doing, is reacting to the people. And here's what Reagan said in his farewell address.
We, the people. We, the people, tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We, the people, are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route and how fast. Almost all the world's constitutions are documents in which governments tell the people what their privileges are. Our Constitution is a document in which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do. We, the people, are free.